So before this wedding season started, me and my buddy Ethan decided to pick up two of these Fujifilm X-M5s to use as extra video cameras, like a B and a C cam on a tripod for wedding ceremonies. And I never used them for photo. I don't think Ethan ever used them for photo either. But in today's video, I took it out to an old abandoned university that has been empty for a while now. I decided to take some photos with it and take it out in the field and just get a feel for it as a photo camera. I will touch on how it's been as a video camera as well, but first let's jump into the build quality and how this camera is to use. Before we jump into this review, I just want to give you guys a heads up that all of the images you're going to see on the screen were shot in RAW and edited with my Pro Color presets. If you want to check those out, you can see a link in the description below. Thanks for supporting the channel. Let's get into the review. So you can't talk about build quality without talking about the size of this camera. And unfortunately for me with my hands, it's quite uncomfortable to hold. However, I do think it would be much more comfortable to hold with a thumb grip and one of the small rig hand grips that you can buy. I've seen them online and they look like it would serve the purpose perfectly. So it's up to you whether that's something you want to do. Other than that, it's pretty similar to like an XE series camera, or just with the addition of the film simulation style, which to me is not something I'd use all the time. I tend to stick to my custom profile. I'll put a link in the description to that video if you want to check out my custom film simulation I use for everything. But for someone that goes between black and white, or maybe you're just wanting to experiment with film simulations on the Fuji system, this style might be really handy for you. An interesting thing about this camera is it's obviously set up with vlogging in mind, because it does have the doors on the grip side of the camera, which is a little bit weird, but it also means when you fold the screen out, it's not going to be blocked by any microphone plugs or anything like that. And lastly, it does come with the NW126S batteries, which is the same battery that came in some of the older Fujifilm cameras, but it doesn't use a lot of power, and I find it's sufficient for the type of camera that it is. So, you know, this camera does have a few little gripes in terms of handling, but most of them can be solved with aftermarket accessories, and I think it's the kind of camera that a lot of people are going to do that anyway. The last thing I'll talk about in terms of build quality is I just would much prefer to have a viewfinder, but I understand that's not what this camera is about, and it's a lot smaller because it doesn't have an EVF. But personally, I find I just constantly was bringing it up to my eye to look through the viewfinder, because it doesn't have a tilt out screen like the X100-6, which I prefer for hip shooting and things like that. It does fold out obviously, but I find it's a little bit cumbersome and it's just not my preferred way to shoot. Moving on to image quality. I find the files out of the X-M5 really good. It's a 26 megapixel sensor, which I think is the same one out of the X-T4, but I'm sure you guys will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. However, I don't find I need 40 megapixels, and as you can see in the photos that I'm putting up on the screen here, the images are great and they're really sharp, lots of dynamic range, and the colors are really nice, just like any of the other Fujifilm cameras. As always, I will put some raw files from the shoot in the description so you guys can download them and play for yourself. But all of these images were shot in RAW and edited with my preset pack, which you can see in the link in the description below. In terms of video specs, it's an interesting camera. So as I was mentioning earlier, we bought them as tripod cameras, and I find they're really good for that. We can get about an hour of 4K 25 recording in the summer heat without any issues. They do get warm. Sometimes the warning comes up, but if you have it set to high, we haven't had them shut down or anything. However, for a vlogging camera, they don't have IBIS, and I find personally it's a little bit of an issue, but you guys are going to have to try it for yourself. It does have digital stabilization, which is actually quite good. I just find it's a little bit wobbly in places, and the wider the lens, the more you're going to see that effect. So I recommend, if you're going to use this for a vlogging camera, buy one of the Fujifilm lenses that has inbuilt stabilization into the lens, and then you should be great. Talking about autofocus, I find this camera is great. It's very similar to my X-T5 in terms of subject tracking. It has eye detection, face detection, and all the other custom modes that come with the new cameras that Fujifilm make. Video autofocus I actually find is quite decent as well. Here's a couple of samples just around the house, racking focus from near to far with full AFC and area focus set. Same with Autofocus, I find it's pretty reliable. It's probably not quite as good as my X-H2, but it's pretty similar. It's not too far off. So you guys know I don't make really in-depth technical spec reviews on cameras. I prefer to just get it in my hand, go out in the field, take photos, take some video clips, and just use it and see how I like it. And overall, my impressions of the X-M5, for us, it's a great ceremony B camera for video. But for someone traveling around the world, say you want something small to kind of vlog your trip with and take some really high quality photos, or you're just getting into the Fujifilm system and don't know where to start with film simulations and what camera to buy, this would be a fantastic starting place. And when you upgrade to like an X-T5 or an X-H2, this is still going to be a really great side camera for, you know, taking on little side missions, or if you just want something a bit more smaller and compact. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I'll see you in the next one soon.